The information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for the medical advice of a physician or another qualified healthcare professional. We do not aim to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease. You should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. The information in this presentation has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration or any other medical body. Right, I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be a really great chat with some old friends that I know well and some very new friends, which I'm delighted to welcome to my channel. So I'm going to go around our little round table in a minute and let everyone introduce themselves. But we're sort of a new little community that are working together, all in our own different ways, but also collectively about being really passionate about people and animals, help take back the power for their health, their wealth, because there's so many wonderful solutions out there. And quite often they're not spoken enough about. We know there's a real, the sick care system doesn't necessarily make available to a lot of people information about what they can be doing right now, not only to reverse challenges that they've got for themselves or their animals, but also to really kit themselves in tip-top physical, mental, and spiritual health. So we're going to have a lovely chat with some really, really wonderful guests today. So I'm going to start with ladies first, if I may. And a lot of people will already know Honey Golden. So Honey, it's so lovely to connect with you. Tell us a little, all my listeners that haven't connected with you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Honey, which is kind of odd for a lot of people, and that's my real name. And what I do is deal with the subconscious mostly. And that's how I got into this, because I speak to my higher self. So that's your soul. And I got a lot of stuff out of the way so that I could do that kind of really clearly before I got on YouTube. And YouTube was something that I didn't want to do. And my higher self said, you need to go on YouTube and you need to talk about this stuff. And so I did. And I do a lot of healings. I do a lot of subconscious work and a lot of health work, but the big focus lately has been ascension. So I've been doing a lot of discussion about ascension.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And I know you've got a really enlightened audience. And I know that you and Scott Yates do a lot of work together. So, Scott, let's come to you next. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
First, Catherine, I just want to say it's a real pleasure to meet you and to be here today. I've been following you for a long time, and I just think that everything you do for animals and to make people aware of health and things to make them live longer and happier are great. So thanks for having me here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Scott.
So let me go back to when I was very young. I was about 19 years old. I had an existential crisis. And during that time, I received a message from what I now know as my higher self. And it told me that I was living in the end of an age, of an old age, and the beginning of a golden age, and that I had a role to play to help people through at this time. And I never quite figured what that was. But when I was in my 30s, I discovered I had a connection with tarot cards, but I didn't see any feasible way for me to pursue that as a career in my 30s. And it wasn't until the events of 2020, I was working. I live in Thailand. I've been an English teacher for about 20 years, and then because I wouldn't get the jab, and I lost my job, and so then it dawned on me one day that, oh, I had been watching Janine for years, and I thought, well, I can do what she does. So I got out my tarot cards and I started a YouTube channel. And through a miracle, um, I just found my calling, and I finally found what it was that I was meant to do to help people. And I've been doing that ever since. And I'm very grateful to be here and doing that. And now ASEA is part of that as well.
I love it. I love it, Scott. Thanks so much for that. And now on to Frank. Frank is my dancing buddy. I'm going to miss you that I'm not coming to the convention this year. But Frank, we met probably, how long was it now? Probably at least a year and a half ago. And then we
Right.
met in person when I came out to the States last year. And you've got a really special story to say. I mean, you're a really good friend of mine now, and I want to just, the reason before Frank introduced himself, I just want to bring in how important it is about how when you open yourself up, like Honey and Scott were saying, when you really open yourself up to following what your real calling is, it's just beautiful, the communities that you get involved with. And I'm very grateful for having Frank as a friend now. So tell us about your story, Frank, and how you came to be involved in the health field as well.
Sure. And it was really an odd way to join this type of venture. I'm on my 34th year of working for a major cell phone carrier, and I'm a bean counter. I'm a numbers guy, so I've never done sales. I've always supported sales, and I don't look at doing ASEA as really selling. I look at it as sharing, and really sharing from the heart, because we know that it's going to make a difference in your life. And um, back before the chaos started, my dad passed away in Chicago. I lived in Colorado now the last 9 years. I was transferred out here, and it couldn't have been a better place to come. I absolutely love it. Um, but being away from your family is hard. And my dad and I were not so much on the same page with a lot of stuff. And even on his deathbed, he said, please seek the truth, because there's truths out there that you're not wanting to hear from me and you're not believing me. But, um, sorry,
Mm,
it gets a little rough.
mm,
And so once he passed and I got back home, I'm like, I have to honor him, and I have to seek that truth. And gosh, Catherine, if it wasn't for people like you and people like Honey that I started following on YouTube searching for truth, I don't know where I would be today. And through all that, I had lost vision in my right eye completely, couldn't see at all. So I was watching one of Catherine's um, YouTube channels, and she was talking about ASEA. And I said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Let me try this. And I had just gotten back from the retina surgeon, and he told me that, hey, look, you're going to be legally blind, and you're going to lose your driving privileges. Well, that didn't sit well with me, so I decided that I'm gonna order this ASEA stuff. And shortly after I ordered, I got a phone call and said, Frank, get yourself a blue or brown glass spray bottle, and you spray this in your eyes every day, multiple times a day. Well, within 2 months, the headache started going away, because when you when you can't see out of one eye, you're naturally a little dizzy, and I don't need to be any more dizzier than I am naturally.
mm.
So uh, I'm like, oh wow, I'm able to see. Like, it's not clear yet, but as time went on, my vision was completely restored. The retina surgeon was blown away. Um, what caused the problem was due to blood sugar, that D word that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. It's Life is hard to manage when you have that. And today I'm no longer dependent on the insulin. I am free of that. I've turned over my life, to be honest with you. And I got to thank all three of you for, even though there wasn't direct support until I met you guys in person, there was that support through your channels that, man, it means the world to me to be able to be connected and affiliated and friends with you all, because you guys are some special people, and what you do for others is so needed out there. The words that you express in your uploads that you share are truly a gift. And I think ASEA is one of those gifts that we're now sharing with humanity. It's time for humanity to wake up and take care of themselves. Stop buying the foods that are making them sick. They don't know. There's a level of ignorance in the general population, I think, with what they consume in their bodies. And ASEA helps so much that I decided that I have to share this. I'm going to be a salesperson, I guess. I never wanted to, but I feel like it's a passion and a mission. And yeah, that's my story. And I turned 60 this year, got married, and it's never too late. Never too late to enjoy life and get healthy.
Oh, do you know, I thank you so much for sharing. You always share so beautifully from the heart, Frank, and I think that's so important. And there's so many important messages you've all shared, and with things like this, the thing that really I love, and I love all the different ways that everyone works to help people, because we all do things in our own unique ways. But I think you've all hit on some really important things. For me, what the whole sort of 2020 pandemic does is it's really shown how much we need community and how much we need to really just drop so much of the judgments that are being pushed on us from so many different agendas. I think everyone sort of watching this is very well aware of the mind controls that happen at the extreme MK Ultra levels, but also the day-to-day programming that we're all having upon us. And one of the things I found so beautiful, and I'd love to ask your opinion on this, Honey, is when people sort of have the courage to take a real um, look at their lives about where they are and really being honest with ourselves, not other people's opinions of where we should be, but where do you want to be yourself? And that's what really got me to this, to saying yes to this, because I actually found out about ASEA about 10 years earlier. And it was never quite the right time. And then I lost my father, unfortunately, at virtually the same time as Frank did. And it's heartbreaking when you know you've got loads of different solutions that people are not being made aware of. So, Honey, how important to you is the community and people really taking a look at their own lives and sort of deciding where they want to upgrade that and take back more control?
I think it's part of ascension. So becoming sovereign and learning to love yourself without the interference from other people is really important. And then you're ready to be in a community. Because if you're in a community and you're into the quantum entanglement and you're like, well, this person's going to do this for me and this one's going to do that for me, then it's not a real like sovereign community. And that's what we're moving into, is being sovereign, learning how to communicate with each other in a holistic way, not the what can you do for me way, and really being our own kind of being and not looking at other people for how to do things constantly or how to be. I think we're going to learn a lot from each other, but we're going to also take it and listen to ourselves. And is that right for me right now? And for me, there's several things that I like to do for my health. And this one was kind of a no-brainer for me because of what it does for the mitochondria. So anything that we can do for our bodies that are going to support us through this whole transformation, I feel like it's a great thing to do. And I think letting go of feeling blocked when it comes to finances and stuff is another thing that we need to let go of, because that's a program
Oh, yeah.
as well. So there's all these things that I see, and I do a lot of that work to help people let go of all those blocks that basically have been built inside of the body and the brain. So it's programming, because the body is a living, breathing computer. And we don't need to take the same programs with us. They're not going to work in the future. So
Isn't it funny though how our education systems, our organized religions, all that indoctrination kind of dumbed us down, if you will, and locked us into being unsovereign and unhealthy and low vibration. I mean, it's time to break free from all that. And so I personally believe that disclosure is so necessary because people aren't going to wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak, until they hear it from their sources. What do you think of that?
Yeah, Scott, I mean, I'd love to know from you, because with the work that you do, you're very connected with people at an energetics level and at yourself. And for me, I'd love to hear your thoughts, Scott, on anything that Honey and Frank have just said, but also one of the biggest resistances I see for people, which I think is a huge program, and I had a real aha moment that I'll share with you after you have, Scott, is about this whole business model of sharing through word to word, or network marketing as it's called. And how does that fit in? You know, where are you with that, Scott? And in terms of the energetics of the product and the model, and as Honey was so eloquently saying about how when you're really joining a community, not from a what can I get out of it, but what can I contribute point of view.
Well, I think I could answer this best by telling the story of why I'm on this panel right now, how I actually got here. So when I started my YouTube channel and it got a little bit of success, like over 10,000 subscribers, I started getting emails from people wanting me to sell stuff. And none of it resonated with me. But I thought, I would like to use my outreach to help people with something that would make them healthier. And then I saw you talking about ASEA, and immediately I resonated with everything that you were saying about it. I knew that this was the thing for me, but I didn't know how to get started. And then out of the blue, I well, I had met Frank as a client at first, and then he says, "Hey Scott, what would you think about teaming up with me and ASEA?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to, but I'm not really capable of doing that right now, just financially. I couldn't afford the startup, and it's really not that much, but at this point, I really couldn't." And he's like, "Well, how about we do this?" He's like, "I'll help you get started, and then you can use your YouTube channel to help me promote it." I'm like, "Well, that's great. That's exactly what I wanted to do." And so this was a manifestation, I believe, you guys. And and then on that first show, I had Frank on live. It was my regular Sunday night show. I like to spotlight certain people, and I had Frank on live, and Frank talked about it. He had me convinced. He taught me all kinds of things that I didn't know about it, both health wise and business wise. And then I'm like, "Well, you sold me on it, Frank. And how would you feel if I did a reading on ASEA right now?" And Frank's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "Are you sure? You sure you want to do this?" I said, "Because if I get that this is snake oil and there ain't nothing to it, that's what I'm going to tell the world live. We're live. This is, I can take it down, but everybody's going to hear this." And Frank's like, "Do it." He was convinced. And I did a 7-card spread on. I can't remember all the cards that were in, but this was the card that came up as the outcome. See if I can show it here.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
The Ace of Pentacles. And there's so much in this card that relates to ASEA. For one thing, it's business opportunity. It's prosperity, both physical wealth and physical health. It's about manifestation, uh, stability, growth, and it's a gift. And that's the other thing that I got from ASEA when I've done other readings. People other clients have asked me about ASEA. I've got, this is something that comes from a divine source. This is a part of ascension. This is a part of the healing that's been given to us, just like the med beds and all the other modalities that we have for healing. And so, like Frank said, we should call this show "Why You Don't Wait for the Med Beds."
Mm.
This is the technology that's here now, and this is brand new technology, people. I mean, as far as like medical breakthroughs go, it's only been 14, 15 years. So I believe that ASEA is going to make us healthier, live longer, and it's also a good way to make a little extra money, you know, and depending on how much time you want to be in it, you could make a lot of money doing this if you really put it into it. So I'm not sure if I answered your question
Yeah,
exactly, Catherine,
beautifully.
but I wanted to share with you, you know, that it's I feel like I manifested this. This is like this ASEA and being here with you and Honey and Frank. Frank and I have become good friends
Mm.
over this period as well. So I'm very pleased to be here with two of my favorite YouTubers and truthers and people who are helping. By the way, Catherine, it's my dream to open up a pet sanctuary for cats and dogs in
Oh,
Southeast Asia. It's a
yeah.
terrible it's a terrible situation with the street cats and dogs. And so when I heard that you do a pet rescue, I so anyways,
Oh,
I don't
that's
want
so
to talk too long,
beautiful.
but
Oh, it's so beautiful, Scott. And I just love, I think people can see that when you do open yourself up to, whatever words work for you, whatever intent works for you. I like to ask the universe. Other people have different ways of how they like to ask. But when you open yourself up, the right people come into your lives. And the one thing I would say is, I'll touch on a couple of things you said, Scott. For me, I had this opportunity come to me before, but I had several other companies I was running. It wasn't the right time. My father was terminally ill, too much on my plate. And then the right time hit. And then I met the founders. And I gave my poor upline, Danielle, the hardest time when I joined, because I love the energetic side of things, but I also love the science side of things. So you're not going to fool me easily with that. So I asked question after question after question. And I can honestly say, out of every company I've worked for, they came back with every single answer. But not only it was the attitude they came back with, they were so delighted that people were asking and looking into it properly. It was absolutely wonderful. And once you start learning the corporate team and their ethics and their morals and how much they do that they don't sing about at all for child trafficking and rescues and all sorts of people that they're helping across the globe, that they don't shout, it's all very private. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I think, Honey, you touched on something I'd love for us all to have a little input on, because in the world we're living in now, it's a reality that we do need the energy exchange of money. And it's a very hard subject for a lot of people to discuss. It's got so many belief systems from so many different, avenues that are pushed upon us from a very, very young age. So talk us through how you work and what you've discovered about this belief system of the energy exchange of money.
So I used to do what was called the death of ego. And I would work with somebody individually for 6 weeks, and we would do 2-hour sessions. And I would talk to my soul, who was talking to their soul, and basically go in and just eliminate block after block after block. And I was only doing this lifetime. So now I'm doing this lifetime, all of their parallels and basically all their genetic line at the same time, and they self-guide themselves through doing it, so it doesn't cost so much to be doing this anymore. But what I found is that people really get stuck because they've learned a lot of things from their parents. They've learned a lot of things from the television. And if you think about the deletes, what they did is they created like a round circle around each human being that squeezed in on them, that said, no, you're not worthy of abundance. And that's what we're breaking. We're breaking that bubble. And for me, when I went through getting rid of all my money blocks, it probably took me a couple of weeks, and it was like very intense. And to do that is like the biggest gift that you can give yourself, because we're about to come into a whole lot of abundance as a group, as humanity. And we want to be able to accept that. And when it comes, we don't want to be like the lottery winners that just go squander it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think learning about the exchange and realizing that money is just energy,
Yeah.
that it's an energy exchange, is really important for people. And it's not that hard. Like, I have a meditation on my YouTube channel that you can go and do, and that will get rid of the majority of your money blocks.
I love it, honey. It's spectacular, by the way. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah, you helped me, honey. That was one of my big blocks, actually. Um, I I was very much into shamanism and very extremely spiritual through my 20s and 30s, and one of the like ideas that I got into my head was that poverty was closer to godliness, right?
Mm.
And and it wasn't until recently that I discovered that it's okay to have nice things, you know. Um, and so I've come a long way in removing those blocks, and I owe that to Honey and a couple other people on YouTube that have helped me understand that as well. It's not a bad thing to have nice things or to want nice things.
I love it. I think it's so important, and it's a journey that I'm still on. Because, we've all got these very deep-rooted belief systems that come from parents, from education, from all of society, and also from seeing people that perhaps you perceive don't behave nice. From, I love it, the deletes, that do have money. And now I've just come to this. I've had so many aha moments through. It's one of the things I love most about having a channel is the people you get to interact with, and the opportunity to change these belief systems is just so transformational. And I am so in now a world where, imagine where there's all our communities that have got those resources. I 100% know now that me having resources does not take it away from someone else, that there is an unlimited supply of it. But when the supply of those resources are in the hands of the people that really, really want to do good in the world for all creatures, great and small, not just humanity, then imagine how quickly we're going to change the world. And we are doing it now. And what I'm seeing is so many people, because I think, again, I'd love your opinion, everyone, on this. There's been a long-standing tradition in the healing arts and the spiritual community about that if you're a proper healer, you have to be poor, this sort of mentality. And people are realizing that, you can't give from an empty cup. I've got a small animal sanctuary myself, and I do a lot of work with other ones, and I cannot look after my animals properly if I can't afford the environment, the right food for them, the right supplements, and if I'm stressed all the time, because the worst thing I can do is just pass on my stress and my fear onto the animals. So when you start working on this, I love the fact that you both do that, because it's such an important blockage. Because financial stress is the leading cause of stress for most humans in the Western world. And we all know that stress is a killer. I mean, that is proven in whatever your belief systems. It kills your health, and it kills your dreams and your spirit. So anything that we can do to relieve that is such an important win for people. And that's how we're going to change the world.
You know,
It's
I,
going to be a big, go ahead.
I just something I want to put in real quick. Yeah, it's nice to have nice things, but also, and I've been around the world and I've been in a lot of poor countries, and most people in the world don't have 3 meals a day. They don't have a decent place to live, and yet they're still happy. I mean, I've been in Nepal, in the Philippines, and these people are happy. And then me myself, when I was going through that really difficult time when I lost my job as a teacher, and I I was struggling to feed myself every day, but I wasn't gonna let it get me down. And I would wake up every day. I'm in a beautiful part of the world. I walk outside. It's a beautiful day. I see flowers. They're beautiful. I've got a place to sleep, and I've got people who love me. And I would say that's all I need. And I didn't let despair drag me down. And then it all turned around, and now I work a fraction of the time that I used to work, and I make more money than I did. I think the universe rewarded me because I didn't base my happiness on what I had. It was just on what I am, just being.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that because I know there's a lot of people struggling right now, and and I want I want people. Yeah, it is nice to have money and have nice things, but it's all you also need to be grateful for what you do have, because when you've traveled and you see how the rest of the world is suffering, you know, what's it called? First world problems. You have first
Yeah,
world problems.
so true.
Yeah. Everything inside is a reflection, it gets reflected outside. So if you're happy from the inside, you're going to see all the beauty on the outside. And remember that a lot of countries were suppressed for a reason, because they have resources that were wanted by somebody who was nefarious. And that's all going to change, and they're going to be very abundant. And Ascension is about abundance. And it also is about letting go of the stress in the lowest chakra in the body. So letting go of the stress that lives in the nervous system. So being grateful every morning is really important. It really does help.
You
And
know, you
that will change your trajectory.
yes, you guys have brought up stress, and we all know the impacts of stress and the effects of it on our health. And I just think, wow, there's our daily stress, right, with just life in general, living. But I have a concern for the greater um, humanity out there, because once they find out some of these truths that will hopefully be revealed, or what they'll learn, what what is going to be the impact on their mental and physical health, learning things that they never imagined could possibly be. That's why what we're doing is so critical, because they're going to need us more in the days to come than they do right at the given moment. I feel. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I think it's such an important point, and I think I'm not second guessing who needs to know what. That will be completely outside, luckily, my control. But equally, I think the most important thing is having these support systems in, and each of us, people will resonate with different things. And the great thing is there's some amazing solutions out there to suit different belief systems. But if people who are involved in this sort of work, whatever your passion is, if you don't talk about it, people don't know those options are out there. There's too many people that are talking about things that we know are not helping people. And therefore, we've got to balance and course correct. So I really do feel it's a duty to share, and then just not be attached to when it comes into someone's lives, or if it wants to come into someone's life. But for me, that's what I do. I have no qualms at all, because as a mum, when I had my children, I was so grateful that the people that stood before me that had the courage, despite the ridicule, to stand up for vaccine injuries and what they were doing to our children. And so I then took on that banner of being the advocate, and I literally got so slated by so many people. But I don't care anymore. I really don't care, because part of everyone's got their different calling, and whether you're standing up for people that haven't got a voice or haven't got access to this information. We know so many people that have been, obviously we're not making any medical claims here with any of the work any of us do, and that you'll see the disclaimer at the front of the show, but there's so many options open for people, but if they don't know they exist, then they can't have access to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think also that there's so many things that are now being revealed that were not able to be revealed in the past. So like ASEA will grow in a massive way. A lot of things that we're using will grow because they will be the new thing that people use to maintain their health. You know, you might get into a med bed, but you're not going to go into a med bed once a month.
Yeah.
You're going to go into a med bed, get healed, and then you need to learn how to maintain that wellness. So I think these kind of things are going to be the things that do that during the transition into the golden age, when everybody learns how to just heal themselves with energy.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Well, before we bring this, I really hope we can do this again, folks, because there's so much more I want to ask you all about, because I just love the different skill sets that these sort of conversations bring together and the different perspectives. I always learn so much. But you know, we are all part of the same team in ASEA, and I think that says a lot. These things don't happen for accidents, and Frank is probably the linchpin that pulls us all together. So what I'm going to do, this will be, you might be watching it on Honey's channel, you might be watching it on Scott's channel or my channel. We're
Frank's Facebook page.
Oh, and yeah, and Facebook page. So we're a community here. So below there's going to be Frank's contact details, because Frank is so organized and so good at this. But Frank will, when anyone wants to reach out and just find out more, start the conversation, Frank will ask you, you know, are you a listener of Honey's? Are you a listener of Scott? And he'll be our little coordinator for that. But what I would encourage people to do is if there's an inkling that it's calling to you for yourself, for a loved one, for an animals, all of us are passionate about helping animals as much as we are about helping humans. If you're looking for a change and to bring in more abundance in your life, then don't hesitate to reach out. And, you know, as a team, we can definitely help you and we're there to support you. Who else would like to add to that? If you've got anything else, we'll go around and start with Honey again.
Well,
I think
like I said, I like to spotlight people. Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Go ahead.
It's the
Go
delay.
ahead,
Carry
Scott.
on. Go for it, Scott.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
No, I just wanted to put the same offer out there for anybody who would like to start this, like I did for Frank. I mean, well, you don't have to do anything for me, but my YouTube channel is available for anybody who'd like to come on and announce that they've become an associate. So
Oh, I
I just
love
want to
that.
put, yeah,
Yeah.
just wanted to put that out there. I'm sorry for jumping in.
There's no problem. There's always a delay. We're all over the world. That's the beauty. This technology can work beautifully for us. So, Honey.
So I like to put people that are signing up underneath me in different things into their own groups. So I like to give them a place to talk to each other. And I think I'm going to be starting up a private meeting that talks about how to create your own business, how to put yourself out there so that you're not running around to your friends and family, because a lot of times they don't want to hear what you have to say. So that you can gather your own audience, because I think that getting an audience and talking about everything that has to do with you and your experience is going to help the world. So, you know, you guys are the awakened people. So the world is going to just benefit from you talking. And that's what I'd like to help people do. Yeah.
Brilliant. What about you, Frank?
Well, I'm just still sitting here in awe that I'm with three of my favorite people. It's like, is this really happening? And kind of a starstruck type thing, you know? And that's very much complimentary to you three. No, it's such an honor to do this work. And being an empath, I have to learn to get over the rejection. And when you know there's somebody who needs it so bad, your heart just pours out for them, yet they're so resistant. And so whether it's their own mindset or their financial situation, which I'd love to help them clear, and I got to clear my own first. It's tough because you know in your heart and in your mind what it can do for them, and yet they don't know, and they're not willing to. So you have to, like Catherine has said, you have to just move on. And I've called myself now a farmer. I planted a hell of a lot of seeds, and I'm trying to just wait for them to start germinating. But I get great joy from helping others, and I find no better outlet than with ASEA. My corporate job doesn't bring me any joy. It brings me a paycheck and security, but this gives me something so much different and so much more rewarding. And I feel like I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing God's work in a sense. I'm helping people to help themselves and prepare them for what's coming, along with taking care of what they got going on right now. So I'm delighted to be that point person for you all.
I love it. And I will just echo what Scott and Honey and Frank have just said, is there's so much support for people here. If people are thinking, I've got a health challenge, I've got an aging challenge, I've got a financial challenge, reach out, because we've all got a vast array of skills, and we've got other people in the team that have got skills that will just blow you away. It's a very can do. And the thing I love about it is there's never any pressure. You can just use the product, or you can decide to also create an income for yourself. And there's no pressure, but there's loads of support. And that's a big difference. So don't be afraid. If it's calling to you, reach out. Thank you so much, Honey, Scott, Frank. I love this. I really hope we can get again. Anyone watching this on whichever platform you're watching, don't be shy at asking questions and connecting in. And if you've got, we're happy to come back and do this again and answer any questions you've got. So thanks everyone, and have an amazing weekend. Bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word, and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.